Hello lovelies, welcome back to Lifestyle Chapter. Thank you for liking and subscribing to this channel. If today is your first time of seeing this channel, I welcome you to the family. If you're already here, I'm always happy to have you back. Today I'm preparing black-eyed pea stew and ripe plantain, coconut beans. That is what I'm preparing today. It's a Saturday morning and that is what my family is craving for. Because of that, I didn't prepare the beans earlier. Normally I soak it in water because it is a bit hard so that it will soften, and when I'm cooking that it doesn't take all the time, but I didn't have much time to do that, so I am still going through that process of getting it cooked, and I know it's going to take a longer time for it to cook. So as you can see, I'm washing the black eyed peas in my colander, and I have washed it and I'm transferring it into a bowl right now. So I'm going to add some water to it and then I'll put it on fire. But before you do that, remember to make sure there are no stones or sand. You have to wash it thoroughly before you do this. So it is going on my stove top right now. I'm going to put it on fire and then cover it up for it to start cooking. Because I didn't do that process, it's going to take a longer time. Usually it takes like 45 minutes for me to cook this if I soak it in water, but I know it's going to be more than that, but I will still do it like that. I'll just leave it on for it to cook. So whilst that is cooking, I will start working on my ingredients for the stew. So I have my habanero peppers that I'm cutting and getting it ready. And to that, I'll be cutting my red onions. And then also I have some shallots which I'll be adding to it, so I'm going to get that also ready. I'll put all the ingredients and the measurements in the description box for those who want to try this. And then to that, I will add my fresh ginger That is what I'm working on, peeling the back of it. So I'll cut it into smaller pieces for blending. So I have the ingredients worked on. I'm going to wash it under running water to make sure it is clean. And then I'll go ahead and start working on the tomatoes as well. Everything is going to go inside the blender, so I'm cutting the tomatoes into smaller pieces and I'll transfer that into the blender. As well as the habanero peppers, the ginger, and 1 red onions. Which I will be blending to start the stew. For the shallots and the other red onion, I added 1 more shallot to the blended ingredients as well. And for the other ingredients, I'll just cut them and use that to start the stew. So I have my sliced onion, red onions, and shallots, which I'll cut and set that aside. So I'll go back and check on the beans. It is not done cooking, so I'm adding some salt to it to give it taste. I normally want to add salt to my beans for the beans itself to be tasty before I put it in the stew. So I've added some salt. It's still dante as of now. It is not fully cooked, so I'll be adding a little bit of water. To the beans, because the first cups of water that I added, it's almost out, and so I'm adding a little bit to help it cook well. And with that, I'm going to add protein. I know beans is already full of protein. Beans is a protein itself. Sometimes when you make bean stew, you don't even need to add any extra protein to it. But I had this 2 pieces of fishes here that I just wanted to fry and add it to it. So I'm cleaning it up. I'm cutting the fins and then removing the gills. It is already scaled, but I'm just making sure I don't have any scales anywhere. So that's why I'm using my scissors to scrape it further to see if there's any scales around the head, because that's where you find some scales around. So I'll be taking off the gills, and then I will cut it to make it ready to fry. As you can see, everything is removed from the belly. It is all cleaned, so I don't need to do much work on this. I'll do the same thing for the second one, cutting the fins, and then taking off the gills. Now everything is ready to be cut into smaller sizes. So I'm going to cut the fish. I'll transfer it into a bowl and then cut on the next one. Now I'll season the fish because I'm going to fry it. I have some salt, so you season it to your taste, and then I'll add in some black pepper and some white pepper. I will then marinate everything together to make sure it has gone to all the part. It is actually coated well on the fish. Now it is all marinated well and it's ready to fry. I'll then go back to check on the black eyed peas or beans, and as you can see, it is all done. It is softer now, and for you to be sure that it is well cooked, you take one and then you press on it with your fingers and see if there's no if everything is smooth. If it is smooth, that means it is done. It is all cooked. So that's a way that you can use to know your beans is well cooked. So I'll just cover it up and then set that aside. I have my pan ready to fry my fish. I'm going to add in some used oil. I normally don't throw out my oil away because I normally use olive oil and I make sure I use it till it is black before I throw it away. So I'm using my used oil. I've used it to fry fish like 2 times. That's what I'm adding for this. And then I've added some new oil that I had to it, and now I'm putting all my fish in it to fry. And also, I don't always want to add the head of the fish to the other part of the fish, but it looks like this fish is just 2 and I had a lot of space in there. That is why I'm adding the head of the fish, but I usually want to fry the other part of the fish before I fry the head of the fish. That is how my mom taught me, but she always said it makes the oil black. So you can choose to do it that way, or you can have all of them in the same pot and you're good. I have my pot for the stew ready. I'm going to add in my coconut oil to it. I have about a half cup of coconut oil that I'm using for the stew. I'm waiting for it to melt out, and then to that I'll add in the sliced onions. And allow it to fry for about 2 minutes. Just to wait for it to caramelize, and then as you can see, I'm adding to that 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. You have to make sure the tomato paste cooks well so that your stew doesn't become bitter. So I'm going to allow this to cook for about 5 minutes to make sure that the tomato paste is well cooked. So I'm stirring everything up together. And then I'll leave it to cook for about 5 minutes. To that, I'll cover it up, and then I'll move on to the fish to check on the side if it is all done. So it looks like the side is fried, so I'll turn the other side for it to also fry. So I'll do that to the rest of the fish to make sure that the other side is also fried. I'll go back to the stew, and then 5 minutes is up. Now the tomato paste is all cooked. I'm going to add in the blended ingredients. I'll make sure I stir everything up for everything to incorporate well, and then I will allow that to cook for about 10 minutes. But before then, I'm going to add in some garlic salt, and then stir everything up. I'll cover it up and allow it to cook. I'll go back to the fish, and now it seems the fish is all done. I'll take it out of the oil into my colander, which I have laid in my paper towel to dab the oil out of the fish. So now the fish is all fried. To that, I have my earthenware, that is a potoyowa, and the eta, that is a processor that is mostly used in Ghana. So what I'm going to do, you can, if you don't have this, you can use your processor, and it also works. I'm going to put some of the cooked beans or cooked black eyed peas into it, and I'm going to mash it. I normally want my bean stew to be a little bit creamier, which makes it more delicious when you're having it with anything. So I'm mashing it a little bit. It's not going to be fully mashed. I want it to be halfway mashed. So in this case, I took half of the beans in the pot and have left half of it. So I'm mashing this, and I'm going to add this to the bean stew, which is going to make the beans a little creamier than it's going in just like that. So I've added everything into the tomato sauce that I showed you before. So I have the mashed beans and the unmashed one all together in this pot, and that is how it's looking. So here I'm tasting to see if the salt is okay, and it looks very okay. So I'll leave it to cook for about 5 minutes, and this is how it's looking. I'm going to add in the sliced shallots that I sliced. It's optional. You can either add these onions or shallots to it. It's all up to you, but that is how I like mix the bean stew or the black eyed pea stew more delicious. So you can choose to do it. And with this, I just put it in for about 2 minutes. I stir it for about 2 minutes, and then I turn off the heat of the bean stew. It makes the stew super You can try it, but it is optional. If you don't want it, that's fine. So this is how the bean stew is looking, and the aroma here is too much for me. It is just too much. The taste is really, really delicious. Trying to clean up my pan to make it nice and neat whilst I'm waiting for the 2 minutes to be up for me to turn off the heat. So now beans is done. Working on my plantain. By plantain, I've cut all my wrapped plantain, and then I have seasoned it with some salt. It is optional. If you want to put some salt, a little bit of salt on your plantain, that's okay, but if you don't want it, you're good. So I have my oil ready on fire, allowing it to heat up so I can fry my plantain. The first batch of plantain is going in. So I'm going to fry the plantain until it's golden brown. Then I will take it out. So we are good here with the first batch. I'm taking that out into my strainer or colander here with a paper towel laid in it. And then I'll continue with the second batch of the plantain. So now we are all set with the plantain frying. Everything is done and it's looking beautiful. Look at the color. So this is the fried ripe plantain. Lovelies. So here is our beans and fried plantain. Red, Ghana for Bessie. Red. Kokoni beans. And this is a Saturday morning that I'm doing this, so you can imagine. My family, they are so ready to eat this because they've been asking for it for a long time. And then the mumpaya na moboya no abem. So this is the ripe plantain and beans. Look how beautiful it's looking. And it's so delicious, my dear. I hope you guys will try this. You can even add Gary and you are good. I decided to add my fried fish, but as I said, it's optional, so you can eat it without it because beans is already proteins. So lovelies, this is our red kokoni beans papabi. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe and like the videos. I hope to bring you another sumptuous recipe, and remember to stay safe and then keep loving each other. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.